All right, let's go to Stephen in Jacksonville. Hey, Stephen.
Hey, good morning, Joe. I got a quick question about making a decision with a grandmother that needs assisted living.
Mm-hmm.
One of the options that we have is that a family member, a sister of mine who has some, not an RN, but some basic nursing assistance, they talked about moving in with her. And but the current living situation, they would need more room, so they would have to get a different house. And we were talking about renting a house or possibly buying another one. She's maybe got just enough savings where she can buy a home. She's got a little bit of a retirement, a little bit of monthly income. But I've seen a few things where if she needs some care later that may require Medicaid or something, if we do something like buy a house, we may run into some problems with Medicaid.
No, actually, it's just the opposite. A house is a non-countable exempt asset from determining whether you can qualify for Medicaid.
Oh.
So if she
owned... just the opposite.
No, a house... You're calling from Jacksonville, so this is a Florida question, right?
She's actually in the state of Maine.
Oh, there you go. Well, in Maine, it might be totally different, and I don't practice in Maine and don't know anything about Maine law.
Right.
But in Florida, the homestead is a non-countable asset. So this house with your sister?
Right.
That would be in Maine or Florida?
It would be in Maine.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, I can't help you about Maine law.
Okay, but
if you move her to Florida and buy a house, the home is exempt.
Okay.
And that's one of the strategies we use in the Medicaid planning sometimes is to either pay off the mortgage because the house is exempt, use countable cash, like, CDs, cash, and so forth. That's countable. And the house is not. So if you had $100,000 in cash that would disqualify you for Medicaid, and you have a $100,000 mortgage on your house, you pay off the house because the house is non-countable, then you qualify for Medicaid and keep the house and pass it on to heirs. One of the Medicaid strategies in Florida is is having a homestead, and also in Florida, the Medicaid law is a big federal umbrella that states get to pick and choose the parts of it they want for their state.
Okay.
In Florida, you can even have rental homes, and the home itself doesn't count, just the income stream, which you can then convert that to what's called an income trust, and still qualify for Medicaid.
Okay.
Lots of planning opportunity. I have a full-time Medicaid attorney. That's all he does.
Okay.
And we help people quite a bit in Florida on qualifying for Medicaid.
Do you see a lot of people move to Florida for that reason?
Some, when there's a choice. When they have family in Florida and the family comes in to discuss Medicaid, and we tell them some of these some things you can have in Florida and still qualify for Medicaid. Yeah,
okay.
we had people move to Florida.
Well, that is one of the possibilities, too, that we're exploring, too. So
we had a client that had no house one time, was in a nursing home, had no house, had money. The amount of money kind of equaled what the son's mortgage was on his house. So actually, we took her money, sold her the house, did a living trust for the mom, which gave the house back to the son when she died. So for a couple of years, she qualified for Medicaid because she had a homestead that was exempt and non-countable, and then the money got left back to the state.
Right.
Some people read listening to this story, and they will say, well, gee, that doesn't sound right. Medicaid's for poor people, and mother should have just paid her own expenses in Medicaid, and she should not have weaseled everything around and turned it into where she qualifies for Medicaid, and the state and taxpayers have to pay for all that. And the son got a house, got his mortgage, and all that doesn't sound right.
Right.
Here's my response to that, because I know people are thinking that. Hey, I am the person that people come to ask for legal advice and what their options are. I'm not suggesting you do this. You ask me what your options are, and I'm just simply explaining them what the options are under Florida law. You make the decision. I'm just the educator, so to speak, and I'll be glad to implement whatever you decide. you asked me what the options were, it'd be I'd have an ethical problem, I think, if I didn't tell you all of your options because you asked me the question. And
Well,
this is
right.
what the options are, and you're the decision maker. I'm not trying to talk you into anything. You know, here's what the facts are. You decide what the solution, your solution is, and tell me how to proceed.
Yeah, and the fear is, I'm seeing that you can move. We spoke about moving her into assisted living, but once the once the memory situation deteriorates, the costs almost double, and at that point it would be almost unaffordable, and then we're sort of forced into a really difficult situation at that point.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, why use up all of your assets when you paid into the system for so long, and why not get the maximum benefits you can from the system? It's just they're just choices you have to make along the way to move things around so you qualify for Medicaid benefits.
Yeah, that was it, and it was tough to find some. I was finding a lot of conflicting information on the internet, and of course, that's one of those situations where people never.
Hey, look for
time and only time.
Look for an elder law attorney in Maine, and call a few. Ask them what percentage of their time they spend in Medicaid elder law, and then just make a decision. Or you have also a choice of moving to Florida.
Okay. That's great advice. I'll start there for sure.
All right. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you, Joe. Okay.
We have offices in Jacksonville, by the way. We have several, and I just arranged a new office, which I'm really excited about, in the Ponte Vedra area.